Welcome to the Scottish Basketball Podcast. We post weekly episodes on the senior game in Scotland. You can join for free on Patreon and Spotify to receive a notification when new episodes are released. Search for the Scottish Basketball Podcast. I am delighted to be joined on the fourth and final episode of this History of Basketball in Scotland series, the Cumnock Chronicles, by Allan Turner to talk about the story of the Cumnock Basketball Club. In this episode, I chat with Allan about the beginning of the end for Cumnock, through seasons 1988 to 1994, and some reflections on the Cumnock Basketball Club story. Delighted to welcome Allan to the podcast. Hi, Allan.
Hi there. How you doing, Andrew? Glad to be here.
88-89 season. It's the season after winning the double, and you finish fourth. Player availability starts to affect your league performance, so all your effort went into the cup. You make it to the final, but lose to Murray on the buzzer beater. After winning everything the previous year, how difficult was it maintaining that level? And does that buzzer beater loss still sting?
What I would say is that all buzzer beaters sting. And for me personally, they last for about 3 full days before I can actually get past it. But nowadays, I'm only reminded of it when somebody at some point says, "Do you remember the 89 final?" I say, "Yeah, I remember we get beat with our last throw at the basket." Training, what I would say is that training certainly, and the commitment certainly dropped away after the winning cup year. And one of the things I would say is that even though things happen, and even if I lose in a cup final, I'm not going to lose my job. There are other sports where when you lose things, you end up losing your job. I always had the knowledge that I would have my normal job at the end of the day. I could always go back to that. I found a Michael Jordan quote trying to make his sort of three-peat with the Chicago Bulls, and he said, "The hardest race isn't the final, it's showing up every year with the same hunger," which I thought was a really, really good quote. I don't think we showed up with the same hunger the following year. Not anybody's fault, just a downer from before. Another quote that he gave as well was, "A three-peat isn't about beating others, it's about refusing to decline." And I thought these two quotes from Michael Jordan were very apt to what happened to us in 89. Because in 89, we kind of didn't quite try as hard as we'd been trying before, I thought. I didn't know it at the time. This is only afterthought, that I think we maybe didn't train as hard. Some key guys missed some key games because things were happening, and that's just the way it goes. Work, maybe family pressures all started to take a toll. A lot of these younger guys were now up, married, and had jobs, and as a result, they can't give the full time that they wanted to give to basketball. And I think that was a part of the 88-89. One of the biggest reasons, obviously, that we lost that cup final by a small margin was the fact that John Duncan and Jim Morrison had both gone to Rangers that year. And so we didn't have them in the ranks. And I genuinely believe if we'd had them in the ranks that day, I think we might have won that one. But we didn't have two of our players. They had gone to chase their dream at Rangers, and I can't fault them for that either, because that was just a jump to another level for them.
Meanwhile, David Murray is having discussions with you and Roger about sponsoring Ayr United and developing a basketball connection based on the European Football Basketball Club model. Within days of that progressing no further, Murray buys Rangers instead, and within a year there's a Rangers basketball team playing in Europe against Real Madrid with Jim Morrison, John Duncan, Jim Mitchell, all Cumnock lads in the squad. What was actually said in those discussions during the Cumnock Murray League match at the Cumnock Academy, and how close do you think something came to happening?
We were playing a game against Murray at Cumnock. Graham Hill had come down to play for Murray in that game as well, so it was quite an exciting game for us Cumnock guys with one of our stars who was starting at a higher level coming down to play. And David actually managed to talk to Roger and myself in the gym, and he explained to us that he was thinking about making a bid for Ayr United, and if he was successful in that bid, would we be interested in joining him at Ayr as a joint venture, football and basketball together? Well, we were really hyped by this, as you would understand, because we thought it was a scenario that we could actually really get onto, and with David's backing, we could be a much bigger club with a lot bigger backing. I think that was in the January, maybe he was looking at this. Then by the time November came round, His bid to get Ayr had fallen through, and in actual fact, he had got a better bid to buy Rangers. So he bought Rangers in November '88, and that meant that any opportunity that we had to get an extra support from David Murray had gone out the window, and because he got a better chance to buy a bigger club.
The 89-90 season, you finished second in Division 1 with a 16-5 record. Bob Taft arrives at the club. You lost out in the league to a much stronger Murray side who had all their star players back from the British Basketball League, and they never lost a game all season. How close or far away were you from that unbeaten Murray side, and what was the difference between the two teams?
Well, we were actually pretty far, really. By the time we got there, it was quite convincing victory in their part. I mean, Murray are coming back from the British League, and they're way ahead in all categories, but mainly just personnel across all playing areas. They've got McLean, Archibald, Hill, Hoffman, and Lewis Young. These guys are just they're all top four Scotland or GB players, and Lewis Young is the highest scoring American in the whole league. So we were always going to struggle in that game. At the end of the day, we tried our best, but we were pretty far adrift, and we discovered basically just how far adrift we were.
The 1990-91 season, you finished third in Division 1, only bettered by the now Livingston team and the City of Edinburgh club. New arrivals Chris Keegan and Billy Alexander make sound additions to your squad. You also have 3 Cumnock players in the top 10 scorers for the season. What was the balance of that team like? And what would have been needed to close the gap between yourselves, Livingston and City of Edinburgh?
We all thought that the balance was actually quite good that season, to be fair. It looked really good on paper until the season got going. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't as good as we thought we were, because the other teams had continued to progress and they had better, stronger players. We had a bit of a drop-off, I think, in training attendance and game availability. Sometimes we could go to a game with 2 starters down. And therefore, as a result, all the key players were unable to make it all the time to away games. Away games seem to become a problem at this time. And you really need all your players all the time when you're coming against that kind of other strength. If the other teams haven't got players turning up, then it becomes an even balance. But if they've got the full squad out and your 2 starters down, you're going to lose that game. At the end of the day, even with the fall-off, we still won 9, lost 5. So, in actual fact, we could have and should have done better if we just had got us a better act together throughout the year, really. There were good enough players to do it.
The 91-92 season, you finished 7th in Division 1 with a 6-12 record. By your own reckoning, it's a poor season with problems really starting to emerge now with player commitment and training intensity. Tom Campbell, the final other founding member of the club, decides it's time to head to Mar College and start a new dynasty in Troon. It must have been a significant moment. Another of the 3 original Ayrshire Musketeers leaving. What was that conversation like with Tom, and did you sense that this was the beginning of the end for Cumnock?
I didn't see it as the beginning of the end, because I still thought we could maintain some kind of reasonable standard going forward. I did feel I was carrying the club a bit on my own shoulders at this point. The match day became a delegation of roles to a lot of younger players who stepped up and helped out quite a lot, but I still felt my old buddy camaraderie was missing. Tom had always wanted to start his own school teams and repeat the club's success in Troon that we had at Cumnock. And after all his service to Cumnock, I really couldn't grudge him that. He was already working in Troon as a teacher, so I wished him all the best, and he went on his way to do that very thing I'm talking about, to start his own dynasty. We did have long conversations about how tough it is to start again without a Bill Bailey in the situation of the PE department to help. Tommy had a tough time trying to get that operating because he didn't have PE department help behind him. But by the year 2000, I was actually at Troon, winning the league as a club coach to help out my friend who was looking for an extra coach that year.
The 92-93 season, you finished 8th in Division 1 with a 3-13 record. There are more changes as Jim Morrison decides he needs a new challenge and heads off to play rugby, and John Duncan can only manage 10 games due to work commitments. You recruit from your roots, young local guys who want to play, but it's a tough learning curve. How difficult was it being in the first year after that rest of the core group had gone, and combined with the practical challenges of managing a young, inexperienced but enthusiastic team?
We've still got players with talent, but the experienced, no conscious scorers who can really carry a team and they're not there anymore. So it's a wee bit frustrating when you can't finish games off because you don't have big enough scorers to do the job. We're kind of unable to gel as a team as well as we have in the past. And when the game is there to win, we really can't step up and do so. We're not really known for our defensive stops in a game. So if you're not outscoring the opposition, you're going to lose.
93-94, you finished 9th in Division 1. You talk about a time where one night at combined junior and senior training, there are 41 guys. Just 5 are from Cumnock and 36 are travelling in from other destinations in Ayrshire. By your own admission, too many young guys, not enough experience and not enough big, strong bodies. And you comment that it's the end of an era. You decide at the end of this season in the summer to move the team to James Hamilton and Kilmarnock and start again. After 20 years from that first training session in August 1974 to this point in the end of the season 94, what was the difference between what you wanted to do and what was available in front of you, and what made you finally decide that now was the time to move?
Well, in 1970, I had a plan to go to college, get qualified, become a PE teacher in a school in Ayr for some reason, rather than Kilmarnock, start a club and start a basketball club. Tom and Roger and myself wanted to continue with club basketball and didn't want that Glasgow travel. The school seniors were ready for the next step and still local. I don't think we ever thought about where it would end. It just sort of crept in on us as our youngsters grew and developed into international level talent. When it's your time, it's your time. 88, 89 and 90 was it. Player careers, family pressures and other priorities all played a part. Bill Bailey was about to retire and the Cumnock Schoolboy Factory was played out. I applied for Bill Bailey's job and didn't get it. What might have been if I had got that job? We'll never know. No younger player production other than me at Kilmarnock, and that was limited. So the move to Kilmarnock was definitely going to be the next logical step.
As you look back to your own role in the history of Cumnock Basketball Club, you were involved personally throughout its 20-year history. You dealt with your own transition from playing to coaching, stepping up through different levels of competition, Americans appearing and disappearing, salary disputes, players who wouldn't give up the ball, player-coach run-ins. Looking back at your own journey from player to coach to club administrator, what's the moment you're most proud of, and is there anything that you'd do differently now?
Obviously, the cup final victory at the Kelvin Hall was a pinnacle for me, just because of all the effort that we went in and with all the players and everything that happened. So that was definitely my moment in the sun, as the saying goes. When you're in the moment, you got to savor it, and I've savored it that day, and I've savored it ever since. I was just in the right place at the right time with the right people around me, and you can't really plan and you can't really change that. That's the way it is.
Bill Bailey caught the basketball bug back in 1963 and built that basketball factory at Cumnock Academy. Yourself, Roger and Tom returned as teachers to, as you say, pay it forward. All the schoolboys who then came through the system, Jim Morrison, John Duncan, Jim Mitchell, Jim Smart, Graham Hill, Marshall Muirhead, the Americans who came and went, the sponsors, the long-standing supporters, and the people of Cumnock and the wider Ayrshire area. Which couple of people maybe made the biggest impact on Cumnock Basketball Club from your point of view, and with which it was most special for you to share the whole experience with them, and what was about those particular people that meant so much?
Well, I would have to start with Bill Bailey, the principal teacher at Cumnock. He was an inspirational mentor, actually, to all three of us who went and returned to Cumnock. It was Bill that kicked that all off. So, yes, he was an inspirational mentor for us. He had a talent identification strength. He was able to spot and recruit young players. Then he could sell them a dream to play for the school and then a dream to play for their country. That was a big thing that kept that Cumnock factory going. Roger Stewart, who was obviously my college buddy, we had a dream. He was the captain. He was the leader of the team. He was a smart player. He had a high basketball. The team ran the game. So he was very influential, Roger, right through those early years with us. And then, of course, Tom Campbell, practice and training commitment, and also competitive, a pure shooter. All the Cumnock schoolboy shooters stem from Tom's technical excellence. and the chip on his shoulder about being the best. He got them all so that they just wanted to beat him, and that was their drive. Mars bars for free throws, and there it is right there. That's one of the deciding factors that kept Cumnock basketball going forward, was Tommy and his competitive edge with his younger players.
You started way back in that small gym with the radiators, the backboards that were flush with the wall. You had the outdoor sloping court where you practiced your uphill and downhill game, quite literally. And then there was the brand new games hall, the other venues that you played in, the Magnum, away trips to Falkirk, to Livingston, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Stirling, Kelvin Hall for that cup final. Firstly, maybe how much did having your home base at Cumnock Academy actually matter to the club's identity and success? And then maybe talk about what other venues across Scotland and further afield you hold the closest memories to heart.
The academy had its issues, and it had heating issues as it got older, and water on the court became a bit of a problem, and it didn't have a wooden floor, right? There was a bit of limited space behind the backboard, which were all slightly negative factors. But the two biggest factors were you could have tiered seating for 400 in that hall, the only school hall could do so, and it was home, and it certainly gave them the edge. The other places, obviously, Kelvin Hall. Kelvin Hall's not a great place to play. It's not a good court. It's kind of manufactured out of a big hall. But I've got to tell you, it just had that spirit about it, because that's where we won the cup final. Meadowbank was another big important place, just because it was the centre for basketball excellence during most of my time in basketball. So it was always worthwhile to play there.
Finally, Bill Bailey's vision back in 1963 led to 3 first-year kids picking up basketballs. 25 years later, that Cumnock side won the National League and Scottish Cup double. Players from Cumnock represented Scotland. Players played in international and European competition for club and country. Players, coaches went on to build other clubs in the area. As you said yourself, I'm happy to quote you, it's been great, it's been historic. It's been a great way to promote the great game of basketball in my hometown. What do you reckon and hope Cumnock Basketball Club's lasting legacy is, even if the club no longer exists, both for the town and for Scottish basketball more broadly?
Well, it really kind of proves a couple of things. No matter how far you are from civilization, and lots of people think Cumnock fits that bill, talent gets you noticed. Sometimes your time to be noticed comes in cycles. And as far as Cumnock was concerned, they were definitely in that cycle. By 1988, all the right indicators pointed to Cumnock. Right time, right place, right personnel. And of all the comments that I get about teams who visit Cumnock, one of the main and consistent topics is a strange one. It's to do with Cumnock hospitality. Now, as part of a National League ruling, we were required to provide some kind of hospitality for visiting teams at the end of after games. And most of the times when we went about Scotland, you got some kind of sandwiches and a packet of crisps and a bottle of juice after a game. Sometimes it was handed to you in a changing room and you ate it there before you left. But in Cumnock, sit down pie, chips and beans in the Academy S&R wing after a game, where both teams actually sat down together, spoke about the game, socialised, compared old stories from old times. It was a great socialising part of the game. And even now, I was at a cup final last year, 2025, and 3-4 coaches all spoke to me about Cumnock. And one of the things we spoke about was the pie, chips and beans at the end of a game, and how Cumnock had the best hospitality in the country. So there it was not just about basketball, it was about hospitality as well.
Allan, this has been amazing. Thank you very, very much for your time.
You're welcome.
For more episodes on the senior game in Scotland, join and subscribe to the Scottish Basketball Podcast for free on Patreon and Spotify to receive a notification when new episodes are released. Search for the Scottish Basketball Podcast. Thanks for listening.